Hey guys, it's Shaylin and I'm here today with another writing video. So today we're doing something a little bit different. I have a bunch of plant chores to do today, and so I thought that since I always talk to myself while I do everything, that for once I would film it while I do some various plant related tasks. I would just chat about various writing related things. Plants are my new love. I have turned into a crazy plant lady. First thing that I'm doing is I'm moving two of my plants into leca. This is my leca. I've had it soaking overnight. It kind of looks like Cocoa Puffs. The two plants that I'm transferring into leca today are this Manjula pothos. Other plant that I'm transferring today is this green velvet syngonium. His name is Archduke Reginald. Never done this before. This is my first time putting plants in leca, so everything I'm saying is just from online research, which was very confusing. I felt like I needed a PhD in biology to understand it. Women in STEM. Am I right? First thing I want to talk about is publishing. I feel like this is kind of the elephant in the room in a sense, or maybe I just feel that way. So I signed with my agent in 2022. I think when I signed with my agent, I really felt like this is it. I've done the hard part. I'm gonna sell a book. It's happening. This is what I've been trying to do my whole life, and it's finally gonna happen. 3 years later, and I haven't sold a book. When I first signed with my agent, I really had this and we were going on sub, I had this deal with myself, which was that I'm not gonna talk about it until I sell a book. And this is for a few reasons. One, I wanted to protect my peace. It is so much harder to deal with failure when you then have to explain that failure. Let's be honest, not everyone who is watching my videos is going to take what I say in good faith. I can say something like, my book didn't sell, and they're going to interpret that as, well, your book must suck. Obviously, that's a small percentage of people, but I think being on sub is a very vulnerable position as a writer, and so for me, it was important to deal with my failures myself before airing them to the entire internet. The other reason was just to be professional. I felt like it would be very unprofessional to be airing grievances with editors, even in vague ways without naming people. I don't want to burn bridges that I desperately need before even crossing them. When I made that decision, I also didn't think it would take this long. Let's be real. I will be completely honest. I thought that we would sell the book the first round of submission. I was so excited to go on sub. This was something that I'd been working for my whole life, you know? Timing of it was frankly abysmal because 2 weeks after we went on sub, HarperCollins went on strike. I totally support the strike. I think people in publishing should be paid fairly, and I want the people who are working in my industry to be compensated fairly. Authors and people who work in publishing. How does this, am I not doing this correctly? This is really weird. So submitting Honey Vinegar culminated in not a sale, obviously, because here I am, and I have not sold the book. I thought that I would not have sold the book by now, but I would have a book on shelves by now. I really thought that my book would have already come out by this point in my life. Instead, I have not sold a book at all. And the Honey Vinegar submission round was very difficult for the reason that there was no reason why the book was getting rejected. I still remember showing all the rejection emails to some friends, and they were like, wait, these are rejections? These sound like acceptances. And I was like, yeah, that's what's weird about it, is that every single editor is going, I love it, I'm obsessed with it, but it's not for me, unfortunately. Even editors were saying in their rejection emails, I'm so sure that this will sell. Don't worry about it, girl. And yet it didn't. The market is just not right for that book at the moment, clearly, for some reason. So we tried again with Holding a Ghost, which is my other manuscript. Obviously that one also didn't sell. This one was a little more clear-cut. Holding a Ghost was a much more divisive book, which is what I would have expected. It's, an experimental novel. Honey Vinegar was every single editor was like, I love it, but I'm not gonna acquire it. Holding a Ghost was a much more dramatically split, where a lot of editors were like, I don't get it. This is just not a normal book. I can't publish this. I don't know how we're supposed to market this. And then the other half of editors were like, I love it. It's so fresh. It's so original. Like, it's so touching. Those were the editors who tried to acquire the book and were not able to get it past acquisitions. The general trend that we saw was that more senior editors who'd been working in the industry for longer were in the, I don't get it, why isn't this a normal book category? And junior editors who were newer to the industry, who were younger, closer to my age, or even my age, were the ones who were trying to acquire it, but were not able to because they weren't able to get it past acquisitions, they weren't able to get it past senior editors. Okay, well, the people who actually love this book and want to acquire it are also the people who don't have the power and the influence in the industry yet to do that. The book was considered too niche for a debut author or too risky for a debut author. I'm gonna say that finding out that Holding a Ghost had died on sub was one of the toughest days of my life as a writer. I just didn't think that I would be at this point, I really just didn't think that I would have not one but 2 books die on sub. I wasn't mentally prepared for that outcome, to be honest. And I had been vlogging my submission process for literally 2 years at this point, and I deleted it. I deleted all of the footage. I deleted this 2-year submission vlog that I had been filming since September of 2022 when I first went on sub. Did that lower the pH? That was base, so shouldn't that have raised the pH? I don't understand what's going on. So I'm hoping to go on sub with the Animal Sense soon. My agent was actually switching agencies, and so we could not do anything for a while because she had to switch agencies, so she couldn't have anything out on sub because she was switching agencies. I had to wait for my contract to end at the old agency, and then there was a termination period, and then I had to be onboarded at the new agency. And it's interesting now because on one hand, I feel deeply jaded. I have this complete lack of faith. Selling a book feels like an impossibility because it hasn't happened yet. And so it's like I've lost the ability to believe that this can actually happen. But at the same time, there's still that part of me that's does believe that it will happen and is envisioning that as the future because it's what I want so much. If I was making a video where it was advice for having a book on sub, I would probably say, the standard stuff of, don't be attached to an outcome. And the thing is, I am attached to an outcome. And I cannot just sit here and act like I don't care and I'm going to be fine if my book doesn't sell for the 3rd time. It would be a bold-faced lie to sit here and be yeah, I don't care. It's fine. Whatever. I'm fine with anything that happens. That's just not true. This is something that this has been my main goal for 2 decades, since I was 8, since I started writing, since I was 8. This is the thing I have been dreaming of more than anything else, publishing a book. So I can't just sit here and say, oh, I don't care, I'll be totally fine if the book doesn't sell. No, I'll be devastated. In that vlog that I deleted of my submission process, I do not understand this pH tester. Okay, well, the electrode is definitely broken, so that's why. I probably shouldn't have gotten the cheapest one. So it's interesting, in that vlog that I deleted, which I regret doing, the reason I deleted it is because I was upset. I have never had feelings of being a failure more in my life than since I've had 2 books die on sub. Never in my life have I felt like a failure to such a degree and had consistent, almost daily feelings of being a failure. So I had said in that vlog that I deleted, which I know I'm gonna regret. I know when I actually do sell a book, I'm gonna wish that I could show the whole journey. But I came home and I was so upset that I just was that I had been for 2 years on this journey and it just wasn't going anywhere. Not just on this journey for 2 years, that's not even counting the amount of time it took to write the books, I was thinking I've poured how many years of my life into writing these 2 books? 5 years, probably more than 5 years, and nobody wants them. Well, that's not true. Some people did want them, but it wasn't enough. Not enough to sell the book. I had said when going out on sub with Holding a Ghost, I've learned my lesson and I'm not going to be so attached to the outcome. I'm not going to be so attached to the notion that my book's going to sell. Because last time it happened and I was just gutted. That was a bold-faced lie. Obviously, it's not like I was lying to the cameras. I was lying to myself, saying, oh, I've learned my lesson. I don't care. Of course I cared. I wish I could sit here and say, oh, it's fine. It just hasn't happened yet because the right opportunity hasn't come up. And it will happen and I'm fine with everything, you know. The truth is, I'm not so evolved that I can completely detach myself from outcome when this is the thing that matters to me more than anything else. And this is the thing that I've been trying to do, literally, for my whole life. It's very easy to say, oh yeah, like, whatever, don't worry about the outcome, and blah, 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 and publishing is complicated and takes time and everything. But I think I've started to get to the point where nothing feels like a success because it's not this. Damn it. That was not a safe way to do that. And I shouldn't have done it because I've sliced my finger open. So I just slice myself and then I'm doing it again. I do not learn. What I would say in advice to someone else who's going on sub is completely different with what I know of myself and how I actually feel and how I am able to feel. It's very easy to say, just don't get attached to the outcome and don't put your self-worth into this and all of that stuff. You know, and if they say no, they weren't the right person anyways. It's easy to say all that and to know all that. It's a very different thing to actually feel that. Because I can say that to myself, but I just don't feel it. Like, if I'm being honest. This is something that I am attached to because this is so important to me. It's also easy to say, like, the industry is fucked up and there's, you know, a lot of factors beyond the quality of your book. That doesn't make it not hurt. That doesn't make it easy. I'm going to start plopping my pothos in the leca. I'm using a self-watering pot for this. I hope more than anything, obviously, that when I go on sub with the animal sense, that it will sell. But I'm really afraid. I'm more afraid than I've been in the past because I know how devastated I was when 2 books didn't sell. Thinking about how devastated I will be if 3 don't sell, it's like I don't even want to think about that. I'm very excited to go on sub again. Like, I am. I have been wanting to be on sub since the moment that I found out that I had not sold my book. This is something that I've been wanting to do, and I've been working to get my book ready, which obviously it wasn't because no part of me thought that I was gonna even be thinking about having this book be my debut. I had not been really working on that kind of schedule because I had 2 other books. The premise that I would write 2 whole other books and either of them would sell was like unfathomable to me. I didn't even consider that possibility. We're doing a different method where this is just like a glass jar that I got at Value Village. So this is a bit of a different method where instead of a self-watering pot, you just fill up this container and we're going to put the solution directly into the container. So obviously, like, I'm very excited to have this book on sub. I'm so excited. But I'm also a lot more terrified because that same hope is there, I guess, but it's also like the hope is there alongside a lot of crushed dreams, frankly. And I think I've also just realized that, like, for a long time I felt like, you know, my books are gonna sell. I know I'm a good writer. And that truly is not enough. Like, timing is incredibly important, and sometimes it is so beyond your control. That almost makes it worse because it's like, okay, well, it's outside my control. There's nothing that I can do. I want there to be something that I can do, you know? I want there to be something that I can do to make this happen, but there's just not. I think we're supposed to get the solution so it's just barely touching the roots. I'm gonna redo the mandula because I'm worried that too much of her root is visible. I think this root was a little long, so I'm just gonna give her roots a little bit of a trim. She's just a bit of an awkward shape because she wants to vine. Okay, there we go. I think that looks better. Now it's time to get some plants ready to transfer into leca. I think part of the reason why I haven't really wanted to talk about publishing on the internet is because I feel like there isn't really the room for disappointment that I would want on the internet. There isn't the room to say the things that I'm saying, which is like, my book didn't sell and I feel like crap about it. It feels like if I'm gonna come on here and say my book didn't sell, I'm supposed to be like deeply enlightened be like so okay with it, you know, and be very wise. But the fact of the matter is, like, I have feelings. Those feelings are not always what I know the optimal feeling to be. I know that the optimal feeling would be utter serenity and peace with any outcome. It's very easy to say that in a video, that that's how you should feel, but that doesn't mean that you will feel that way. And so I feel like part of why it's been hard for me to talk about my publishing journey is because I feel like there isn't the space to be like, I failed at the thing that matters the most to me. And I feel like shit about it. And I feel like a failure. And I feel like other people probably think that I'm a failure. And I'm really disappointed and upset about it. That's the honest truth. But that feels very hard to come on here and say because there's no wisdom to that, you know? There's no wisdom. It'll be very, very easy for people to say, oh, well, you should feel this, and blah, 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 blah. It's easy to say that. It's easy to say that to myself, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna feel that way. I've learned I can't talk about this with people who aren't in the industry because what happens is you see a friend and you're like, catching up and you're like, oh yeah, and like have a book on submission and they're so excited for you, and then you see them again a few months later and they're like, so what happened with your book? And you have to go, I failed. Obviously they are not mean about it and they were asking because they genuinely care about you, but what happens is that ends up becoming every single time you see someone, you have that same conversation and you're just constantly going, yeah, I failed, yeah, I failed, yeah, I failed, yeah, I failed. It's not to say that I think that those friends are judging me or anything, but it's so brutal to just constant, every conversation just becomes a reminder of your own failure. And so I don't really talk about it with anyone. I only talk about it with my partner and friends who know how the industry works, you know? Let's move on to this guy. This is my Syngonium albo. He's 2 leaves. His name's Alfie. I got him as a cutting. He's struggled since I planted him. He has not popped out a single leaf. In fact, one of his leaves died. He used to be 3 leaves, now he's only 2. But he's rooting out the bottom. Today I want to take him out, see how his roots look, and transfer him into water so that I can put him in leca, because I'm just curious to see if he'll do better in that growing medium because he is not liking the soil. It has been months and he has not even begun to even think about popping out a new leaf. Pretty healthy, I think. But now I guess I'm talking about it with the internet. I don't know. I guess when I made that decision to not talk about publishing, I didn't think that it would be this long and brutal of a journey. So the next thing I'm gonna look at is this Cebu Blue. I just got back yesterday from a very short camping trip to discover that many of my plants were very sad. And I don't know why. I was gone for a few days, and a few of them while I was gone had bitten the dust. One of them being the Cebu Blue. I chopped off a bunch of his sad leaves. I think he probably has root rot. I'm gonna open him up and see what's going on. His name's Angelo. He's pretty not happy at the moment. Oh god, he's falling apart. Oh, sweet boy. Okay, so that is not a happy guy. Okay. I think what I need to do is chop and prop him. I think I need to just cut him at the node, propagate him, hope that we can get some strong roots, then replant him. But wow, he was not happy in there. Oh, poor guy. Chop and prop you, my dude. Oh man, Angelo! This is all that's left of him. Oh, buddy. I'll just let him dry out for a minute, get a little bit of a callus before I pop him in water. The last plant that I have here, those 2 went really quickly, is this string of turtles. Her name's Shelby. I got Shelby pretty recently and repotted her, and she does not look happy in this potting mix. She is gone pale. She's kind of squishy. I don't think she likes it in there. I think this mix is holding water too well for her, which is weird because it's a pretty chunky mix. But I think what I'm going to do instead is repot her in a mix of cactus mix and perlite and see if she likes that a little more, because this mix is not clearly working for her. We're losing a lot of turtles. Oh, Shelby. I wanted to talk about shiny new idea syndrome. So I'm kind of going through a shiny new idea syndrome. So I'm just gonna make some new soil and I'm just gonna mix perlite with potting mix, and I'm gonna wear a mask because perlite is very dangerous to inhale. Never had this desire to truly like drop everything and switch to a project until now. The problem is that it's happening when I'm halfway through an MFA program. So it's like literally the worst time ever. So here's another plant that I really want to move to LECA. This is a milk confetti syngonium. Her name's Oatly, like the oat milk brand. I also came home yesterday and she was really sad. Like half her leaves were brown and she's been always thriving in the months that I've had her. So this is like the first time. But I looked and she is getting a little root bound, I think. A few months ago, late March, it's like early May as I'm filming this. Out of nowhere, I got this new idea for a book. I think it's gonna be a novella actually. Within 2 hours, I had themes, characters, the ending of the book, which is very rare for me. Really just on and off over the next like month and a bit up until now. And the reason it's been on and off is just because I've had a few trips in there. I had like the end of school, I had a bunch of applications I had to do. I've written about 7,000 words. I think that they're the best 7,000 words I've ever written in my life. The reason this is bad is because I am halfway through a 2-year MFA program where I'm supposed to be writing a different book. This is not the book that I'm supposed to be writing. I'm supposed to be writing a completely other book. So the book that I'm writing for my thesis, don't get me wrong, I love it. I do love it. But it's really hard to write. It is so challenging to write. I think I've been realizing that it's not something that can be written in 2 years to the point that I'm gonna have like a full finished draft, you know? Now I've talked to my supervisor, he's like, that's fine. Like you don't need a full, completely edited, ready to publish draft to defend. That's crazy. No one is getting there in 2 years. I should be writing this book, that is my thesis, that a lot of people have put time into developing. I've had like 5 workshops, a lot of feedback from a lot of profs. Like I've really had a lot of people become invested in this. And I love it, don't get me wrong. It's not to say that I don't believe in the future of my thesis novel. I fully do. But right now, this new project, it's really speaking to me in a way that I haven't had happen in years. Like, I feel like I have a direct line to the muses because the words come out on the page and they are so good and they're effortless. And my thesis, effortless is not the word that I would use to write it. It's a very challenging book to write. So on one hand, I feel like, you know, it's good to have something else that I can write so I don't get burned out. But I think I'm at a crossroads of like, do I switch my thesis to this new book when this is what's easy to write right now, and it feels like magic is happening on the page every time I sit down to write it? Or do I stick with this book that I've kind of really committed to as my thesis, and a lot of people have put time and effort into, and I'm invested in, you know, it's not like I don't want to write this book, I do want to write this book. But the way that someone in my cohort put it is, it may not be a 2-year book, it's a 5-year book. And this new project, this novella, I don't think it's a 5-year book. It's a 2-year book. If anything, it's less than that because it's going to be really short, I think. I have this project that I should be working on over the summer, which is my thesis. That summer between first and second year is when I should be getting the bulk of the words done. I've been out of class now for a month and I haven't opened the document. So it's like I have what I should be writing and what I want to be writing. My crossroads is I feel like if I don't take this opportunity to write the novella now, I may be missing out on one of the best writing experiences of my life. When you feel that direct line from the muse, how can you not take it, you know? So now I'm stuck with the options of switch my thesis to this new idea, keep my thesis with the book that it is, and write both books simultaneously, somehow. And accept the fact that that means that the thesis won't be as polished to defend when it's time to defend as I would have liked. It just won't be because I will be splitting my time. Or try and hold off on this new project and really get back to my thesis. That's the least appealing option. Writing advice online would say, you gotta stick to what you committed to. Okay, but what if I don't want to? What if this new idea is really speaking to me? What if it's sparking something in me that nothing else really ever has in this way, or hasn't in years? What if by not following this, I'm missing out on a project that's actually really important for me to be writing? What if there are things more important than what you committed to first? And what if what's more important is what you need to say right now? Obviously, over the summer, I need to make some amount of progress on my thesis. I'm not going to have a full draft done. I've told my supervisor this. He was like, that is fine. It would be crazy if you did. Shelby the Turtles is going back into some very perlite-y mix that I'm hoping will be better for her. It was some pretty nice soil, I gotta say. Even the nice soil wasn't good enough for you, Shelby. That's fine, girl. We all have our thing. Gotta advocate for your needs. I lost some turtles in the process. The thing is, if I wasn't in this MFA program, I would just pause the thesis book, write this one all the way through, and come back to this book later. But the problem is that it's my MFA thesis. I mean, it's not like anyone will be mad at me if I switch my thesis. My instinct is that because the thesis novel is so much more challenging, like it's a deeply more challenging book, it's very challenging, I'm finding it quite hard to write. It's turning out well, but it's very hard to write. My instinct is that I really should write this as my thesis because I need the guidance. I don't need the guidance with the new novella, but the thesis project I really need the guidance, so I should be taking the guidance. The publication has been rearing its head as a factor in my process in a way that I don't want it to. I had a call recently with my agent and I was like, so I've started working on this new project. I think I'm onto something. I think this is one of the best things I've ever written. So far, at least. I'm only 6,000 words in, but I think they're some of the best words I've ever written in my life. I think it's going to be a novella. Is that a problem? My agent was like, do not worry about that. Write the book. It'll be what it is. And we'll think about how to publish it after. Don't force it to be something that it's not. That's the kind of thing that's like, that's what I would always tell myself. But I think that the publishing failures have got me in a mindset of like, I need to write something that I can actually publish. And maybe that's another reason why I'm struggling with the thesis novel, is because it doesn't feel like something that I can easily publish. I'm really enjoying my MFA program. I can't believe I'm halfway through. Like, being halfway through the program is crazy. I've done all but one of the classes, and now I'm going into the teaching component and the thesis component. I really wanted to do this program to facilitate the writing of this project in particular. That's what's actually getting in the way of writing something else, and something that feels really important. Like, I can't really explain this. This is just kind of creative intuition that you just know about your own work, which is that this is something that I need to be writing right now. This is something that's important. This is something I need to dedicate time to. And this is something that matters. I don't know. It's just, this novella is clicking with me. So I'm trying to roll with it, prioritize my creative needs and health over my academic success and my goals coming into the program. It's a MFA program, and I do want to get out of it what I wanted to get out of it. I don't want it to be a detriment when this is something I've been wanting to do for years. It finally felt like the perfect time. It finally was the perfect time. And I don't want that to get derailed because one day out of the blue I get an idea for a novella and I'm convinced that it's like a work of genius and my magnum opus. But I kind of am convinced that. Right now I am taking a break from the thesis because I needed one desperately after working on it quite intensively throughout the semester. I was feeling a little burned out. So I am going to take a little bit of time off, but it's getting to the point where it's like, okay, I've taken a month off. Like, I need to start thinking about this book at some point. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this more casual style of video. This is really what I had the time to talk about, I guess, in this span of time while I was doing some plant chores. But I'm gonna go clean up because I'm surrounded by dirt and plants and fungus gnats, which are pissing me off. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video. Bye!